What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Talking Blue. I'm Matthew Mooney alongside Luke Langella. We got a very angry video for you guys. We are going to be talking about the New York Football Giants' utter train wreck over a dumpster fire disaster of a season. First of all, let's just talk about now. We flipped the script. The last 10 weeks have been an utter disaster. We were 7-2 last year, and now we are 2-8. So we are going to talk about everything that went wrong. Going into this season, we were fired up all off season, posting so much content, and you just like every week, new episodes were coming out. We're just talking about how excited we were and how optimistic we all were for the season. There was a lot of optimism for the Giants, and at training camp, I was talking to a lot of very optimistic Giants fans. They were all fired up, and you know, everyone was very excited for the season to start. And it all ended after a blocked field goal week 1 on Sunday Night Football at MetLife Stadium. Luke, give me your thoughts on the season.
I mean, I've seen too much of it. I've attended 5 Giants games, 4 home games, one in Dallas. I was at that. I was at both Dallas losses. I was at the Jets game. I was at Seattle. I was with Washington, and I mean, it's as bad as it could get, and it almost feels like a bad dream. It feels like this is just a bad dream. It can't be happening right now because I mean, so many points this season. We could talk about how we could have turned it around. We could have beat the Jets. We could have beat Buffalo. We could easily have put ourselves in a good spot heading into that Raiders week. I mean, so many chances the Giants were given this year that they just threw away. I mean, last year the Giants were able to win close games. This year they did not. I mean, regardless of the fact is, you could have won those 2 games. You could have had 3 wins. I would take 3 wins going into the week against the Raiders. It's a tough schedule, but the Giants just could not get it done. I mean, all the excuses, all the injuries. That's enough. I've heard enough excuses. I mean, you couldn't even put a show on the field. It's starting to get ridiculous. I mean, the Jets game was just. I mean, it had to be one of the worst football games we've ever watched. That was like watching Joe Judge coach a game. And I mean, Brian Dable. I'm sorry, we supported him all off season, but it really does seem like it may be his time to go. Kafka has to go. I mean, I hate to say it, but if Dable goes, you'll probably see Wink go. And then I don't even know about Daniel Jones next year. I mean, I think the Giants need a lot of moves, and I mean, this regime just isn't going to work. I mean, you can't go 7-2 and then be 2-7 the next year. That's ridiculous. I mean, no excuses.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You can't start out a season 7-2 one year, then the next year you're 2-8. It's unacceptable. We talked all offseason how we can't have a repeat of 16-17 to 17-18 because they started out because they had an 11-5 season when in 2016-17, made the playoffs, lost in the wild card round versus Green Bay. Next year, awful 3-13, last in the division. Ben McAdoo got fired midseason, and it was a utter disaster. We needed to show that last season was not a fluke. Hopefully, this season is just a fluke, and next season can be a lot better. But honestly, who knows? I mean, Dable really handed the Jets that game. No one deserved to win it, and honestly,
even the Bills game.
Yeah.
We talked about the Bills game. That was another poor coaching by Dable. 2 games. Dable cost the Giants 2 games. And at this point in the season, Giants could have 4 wins, 2 less losses. I would take 4-6 right now. I would really take 4-6 right now
Oh,
because we'd
same.
still be in the thick of the playoff race. And even still, I projected the Giants this year to have 7 to 8 wins. That's what I said with Matthew, and that was my low ball too. I was with Matthew. I thought more 10 to 11 wins. I really thought they were going to be good this year. But I would take the 7 to 8 wins right now. If you went into Washington at 4-6, I mean, I would really like how the season could come. And I mean, the Giants just have been horrendous this year. I mean, who knows? I mean, in the Jets game you just showed, I mean, you got a quarterback, let him throw the ball. Why are you running the ball? Why are you running stupid plays? I mean, the whole world knew what the Giants were going to run. And it just comes down to the execution. The Giants just poorly executed that game. I mean, Buffalo poorly executed. And then the other games were just disasters. I mean, it doesn't get worse than that. And Matthew, I mean, it's just been horrendous watching them.
Yes, you're right. It's been really an utter disaster. I want to talk about some of Brian Dable's bad coaching decisions. The first one being week 4 versus Seattle. They attempted a brotherly shove, which they never practiced all season. 4th and 1, didn't get it. And not just that, just to rub the salt in the wound, Daniel Bellinger and John Michael Schmitz both got injured on that play. It really cost us that. It cost us that drive, and it was a stupid play call.
Yeah,
To be honest with you, I'm not a big fan
I
of
mean, and
it,
listen,
but all right.
yeah, and you know what's even more funny? We run it again against the Raiders, and we didn't get it again. That's what's even more crazy. We needed an inch. I mean, we should have got it. I mean, the refs did make a mistake, but regardless of the factors, we made it that close. I mean, the plays almost. I would say it's almost 90% chance of working. You watch the NFL. The Eagles have been stopped once on it. It works almost every single time, and the Giants just can't seem to execute. I mean, there's Matthew. That's just the way the season's going. It seems.
Yeah, you're right. Last season, everything was going our way. This year, nothing's going our way. It's just so many bad games this season. We're officially in tank mode. I was at the I was at the game versus Dallas and the game versus Washington. One awesome game. Well, not awesome, but one very exciting game to be at, and one horrible game to be at. It couldn't have gone any worse this season. Like, if you told me that this was what was going to happen right before the season started, I wouldn't have believed you. I would have been very disappointed. And another thing I want to talk about is Week 1. Keeping Daniel Jones and Andrew Thomas in that game when it was already an utter blowout. Like, there was no shot the Giants were going to win, and Dable keeps them in, and Andrew Thomas ended up getting hurt.
Yeah, I mean that's a fair point. I mean, to me, I always keep the starters, and I'm big into playing for pride. I mean, stats count in the NFL. The NFL's a statistic league. I keep the starters, and I have no problem with that. I mean, it's just some of the play calling this year. That's what I have a problem with. And the play calling, just like last year, has been questionable. I mean, the Giants got lucky. We said it. We talked about it a little in the offseason. We didn't really want to say that. We thought the Giants earned it. They got lucky last year. For the second half of the season they had, it was absolutely horrendous. Losing to Detroit and giving Detroit that win streak. I mean, Detroit was not a good team last year. I don't care they finished 9-8. They were not a good team,
You're right.
and they got blown out, the Giants. And after that, the season just it really got bad. I mean, you look at it. How did the Giants make the playoffs? I don't know, because that second half of the year was so horrendous, and I mean, just the quality of their play. And I mean, they got lucky. They really did. And then this year, you look at the schedule. There is no lucky games this year. I mean, the schedule was tough, and the Giants showed they weren't up to the task. And if you don't mind, Matthew, I'd like to talk about maybe some more of the positives. I would say this. I would say our defense. I mean, it's been questionable, but I do really like some of those guys, and some of the guys I could list right now for you.
Yeah.
Jason Pinnock having a Pro Bowl season. He's having an excellent season.
Yes.
Xavier McKinney. I mean, we talked about him a little bit. I mean, we're not sure if we want to keep him, but 63 tackles for a safety is very good. Another 10 tackle game for him. An excellent season. Bobby Okereke. I mean, we expected it. We paid him big money. He's shown up to the New York market. That's what we need. Micah McFadden.
He's
I
been
mean, the
phenomenal.
guy that everyone said, Matthew, everyone said he was a bust last year. He's having an amazing season this year. And then we go to Deontay Banks, another guy we're really proud of. I mean, think about some of the guys he's go against: Scary Terry, Garrett Wilson. He's matched up against the number one receiver week in, week out, and I think he's done an excellent job out there. That's no easy task. His stats are excellent too. And then lastly, the last two guys, but certainly not least, we got Kayvon Thibodeau and Dexter Lawrence. Sexy Dexy, he's been triple teamed, and he's still getting a push. And Kayvon Thibodeau, 8.5 sacks. If you told me that, I'd be very impressed. I mean, you look at this defense, I really don't understand how we're giving up 40 points with that kind of defense. So there's some questions. So we got some talent in the back end. That I mean, maybe it's the play calling. I mean, the man coverage against Dallas, a little questionable to me without having a Dory Jackson out there. I mean, your corners are getting burnt all game. I don't know. I mean, Wink Martindale, he sticks to his man and blitz, but I mean, we've been questioning a little bit. I don't know, Matthew. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of defensive guys have been phenomenal this season. Obviously, Okereke is like the number one guy. Well, like, we kind of knew it was going to happen. Micah McFadden's the biggest surprise. I didn't even think he was going to like play that much going into the season, and he's become phenomenal. Thibodeau, my favorite Giant, has turned into arguably a top 5 edge in football. And a lot of the guys have just really stepped up and played a lot better now. And also, we got to talk about Dexter Lawrence. I know you just talked about it, Luke. He is being triple teamed and still getting pressures on the quarterback. And he's one of the best interior defensive linemen in football, and
Yeah,
it's really hard to doubt it. And Jason Pinnock, a guy who I liked a lot. I remember in training camp he was the only guy who was able to cover Darren Waller, and I was like, okay, this guy could cover Waller. He could cover pretty much anyone. So I was excited to see what he could do this season.
just for the record, our top four tacklers this year: Bobby Okereke, 91 tackles, that's top 10. We got Xavier McKinney at 63, Mike McFadden at 60, and Jason Pinnock at 55. That is a great top four tackler list. I mean, those four guys are having great years. And I was a little questionable about Xavier McKinney, but I'll say this: if he keeps on playing like this, I mean, I would think you'd have to extend him. I mean, he's just playing some of the best football of his life.
Yeah, you're right. I do want McKinney back next season. So I'm not going to go over a mock contract just yet, but I want to talk about I do think he's one of those guys that we have a lot of free agents this year. He's one of those guys we have to extend. I think extend him definitely. We'll talk more about it later. I think Barkley you could extend. I know he's been injured. I do
Well,
want
Barkley's having
to.
talking about that. Barkley's still 568 yards so far through the game through the year. I mean, that's pretty impressive. Again, he's only played 6 games, 568. I mean, that's pretty impressive to me.
It is. He is our best player without a doubt, and he means a lot to this team. I also want to talk quickly. I know he's not a free agent, but I want to talk about Daniel Jones this season. Obviously disappointment. He's done for the year. He had an awful game versus Dallas week 1. I mean, the entire team was awful, but some decision making hasn't been great. And also, I mean, he's got no time to throw the ball, but at the same time, he's got to be a lot better. You're getting $40 million a year. You got to play up to that or close to that.
Yeah, I have something interesting for you right here to show you. I mean, yes, Daniel Jones, his play was not $40 million worth, but in 6 games played, he was sacked 30 times. And, I mean, he only played 1/4 of the Raiders game. So that's really 5 games. Sacked 30 times. Tyrod Taylor in seven games played. He's been sacked 10 times. I mean, and he hasn't, and obviously those seven games he's been there for 8. He hasn't played a full game. And DeVito in 3 games have been sacked. He's been sacked 13 times. 13 times. I mean, the Giants, this offensive line, it's been improving a little bit, but in 6 games, Daniel Jones got sacked 30 times. That's absolutely crazy. That is crazy.
Oh, and speaking of the offensive line, I know this happened over a month ago, but I think we got to touch up on this quickly about Evan Neal's comment. So he's been getting booed at Giants games. Then his response to the post is, "Boo louder. What does a lion care about the opinion of a sheep? What do they do? All they flip burgers or hot dogs somewhere?" I mean, you don't say that to the media, but whatever. I kind of got a kick out of it. But you don't say that. You're gonna piss the fans off. You insulted a lot of the people working at concession stands because they're cooking, and a lot of you spend a crap ton of money going to a Giants game. You have to spend a fortune for tickets, and parking's like $56 at least. And it's ridiculous because you have to spend a lot of money, and some people sacrifice everything they have just to go to one game a season, and they don't have a lot of money, and they could be working at a restaurant, and you just pissed off the entire fan base. At the Giants Redskins game week 7, I was waiting outside, and people were for autographs and for the Giants to come out. And while we were waiting for the players to come out, someone started chanting "Burger Flipper" for Evan Neal. I thought that was hysterical. I wish he came out and everyone was chanting that. I thought that would have been funny, but he sucks. And the only way to determine if he's a bust or not is they need a new offensive line coach, and the offensive line coach sucks. So if we fire him and get a good coach, maybe he'll be decent. What do you think about that, Luke?
I mean, yeah, Bobby Johnson, he's absolutely horrendous. I mean, our line's been a little bit better, but I mean, a little bit better isn't going to win you games. You got to be a lot better.
Yeah.
And I mean, that can't happen. So it's been tough. That comment by Evan, yeah, you can't be saying that thing. I mean, you're having a bad year. Specifically, your team's having a bad year, and I'm an Evan Neal fan coming from Alabama, but you can't be saying those things, and you're gonna piss off the market. So he did. And I guess, man, not much more to touch up on, but there is one last thing. It's Tommy DeVito, the Bergen kid, the Jersey boy. the basketball boy here, and I mean he's been playing some decent football. It's a great story, and I mean I'd like to see him a lot more of him. I mean I would like to see him start the rest of the year. With the
Yeah,
season, when you have nothing to lose, I see no reason to bring back Tyrod Taylor. He's off the team next year. You're not going to pay him another $9.5 million. Maybe DeVito could be a backup. Maybe you could trade him in the future. I don't know, but DeVito, I'd keep on this football team. I
I
would give him an
agree.
honest shot. I mean, you have quarterback questions going into the year next year. You need to know if you could have a good backup. I would do DeVito. You don't need to pay a backup $9.5 million. You're gonna need that $9.5 million for your offensive line and some playmakers.
Yes, you're right. I think DeVito's actually a solid backup quarterback. I mean, play him the rest of the season. Next season, he's not going to be the starter. Honestly, I don't even know who's going to be the starter this next season for the Giants. If it's going to be Daniel Jones, or if we're going to draft either Drake May or Caleb Williams in the draft. But we'll see. Honestly, you guys are going to think I'm nuts for this. I've made a lot of very controversial takes on this podcast, which is part of why I love doing this. Um, I don't think the Giants should draft Caleb Williams. You might think I sound nuts for this, but the reason why I'm saying this is because he was crying after that loss versus Washington, and you know he's not going to handle the pressure in New York if he sucks, and if the Giants suck, people are going to be in his face. He's going to just like break down. It's just not going to be good for him. So I don't know if it's best for him. Maybe take Drake May, but since we made that trade with Leonard Williams, we got a second round pick and a fifth round pick. We could possibly trade for another first round pick if you think about it. If we are to go with Daniel Jones, because I would draft Marvin Harrison first round if he's available with our first round pick, because it's going to be very high. And I think they should draft an offensive tackle, maybe Fashanu, that kid from Penn State. Do you think that would work out for the team, Luke?
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at a lot of the mock drafts, and good thing is that there's a pretty good quarterback class. So, you always could take quarterback later in the rounds. I mean, or it seems like the Giants faith in Danny. That's an option. Or you always could do you always could take. I'm a big fan of Marvin Harrison, just like you were saying. Obviously, we could take another tackle. I mean, Evan Neal, he's been hurt too though, so he's not developing right now. We'll have to see how he comes out next year. But again, I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind Marvin Harrison being our first round pick. We have 2 second rounds. Maybe grab a quarterback in second. I mean, I think Marvin Harrison's the real deal. And the issue we've had is that we don't have a number one receiver. You look, Ohio State produces wonderful receivers. We got to see it firsthand. Garrett Wilson was all over us in the second half. I mean, so I would love to see if the Giants take a guy like Marvin Harrison. We need a number one receiver. We know that. I mean, the Giants didn't do it for a long time, but I feel like now's the time, Matthew.
Yes, I think he would be a good guy to take. And there's a loaded free agent class. It's a better receiving core class than last year. We will talk about that in a future episode. And lastly, Mike Kafka has to get fired. I would say you keep Dable, keep Martindale, fire Kafka. We need to replace him as offensive coordinator. We'll post a video soon about that, about like a couple guys who could replace him. Maybe that'll be the next episode, but we'll see. He has done an awful job calling plays. I feel like he keeps doing this, running the same play over and over again when it doesn't work, and just keeps doing it. And like, you're just not going to win football games by doing that. What do you think, Luke?
Yeah, I mean, Kafka's been horrendous. I mean, I said it last year. He tried to get cute now last year, and now he doesn't even seem like to be calling the right plays. I mean, who the heck calls on 4th and 3 inside zones? I mean, this is one of the times when the whole world knows that you were going to run, and we've seen this all year. Everyone knows the Giants want to feed Saquon Barkley. I mean, there's so much better plays you could run. You could run the little QB bootleg. I mean, Tommy showed he could run the ball. So why are you running the ball to Saquon Barkley at 4th and 3?
Exactly.
That's what they want you to do.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just. I mean, he just again. You said it. You said it. I mean, he has not been good.
Yeah, you're right. I think he should get fired. Dable should stay. It's just one bad season. If we fire him, we're making a bad decision. I've seen this happen before. I'm an Islanders fan. In case you guys don't know, fired Barry Trotz after one bad season where we didn't make the playoffs, where we had high expectations, and it turned out to bite us in the ass. And look where we are now. 7-game losing streak. Anyways, you can't fire a coach after one bad season. He deserves another chance. Give him a second year, and if he sucks next year, he's got to get fired. But who knows? I think Martindale should also stay as well. But yeah, I honestly think this coaching staff, aside from Kafka, can really make some noise and still be good again. What do you think about what I just said, Luke, about the coaching staff?
Yeah, I think Brian Dable could deserve another shot, but again, the Murrah family can't get embarrassed, and right now the Giants are getting embarrassed week after week. I mean, this is a big test. Washington's not a good team. We could easily beat them. I mean, I'll say that, but the Giants go into it, they embarrass themselves again. I would easily say that Dable may get fired because I mean that's where they'll draw the line. They don't want to get embarrassed week after week. So I mean, he still has to win games. That's what I'm going to put. They're not going to want to tank. No owner wants to tank. The Giants
Right.
don't. I mean, the Giants are going to have a top 10 pick now, regardless. And so, I mean, that's where you're at. I mean, I'd like to see the Giants win 4 or 5 games. I'd like to see them finish strong. I mean, that's what a good coach would do. When you're having a bad year, you don't want to go 2-6, 2-15 after you made the playoffs. I won a game last year in the playoffs. So I'd say finish strong. Don't tank. I mean, if he does finish strong, give Wink another shot. Get Kafka the hell out of here, and maybe make Dable a play caller. We'll have to see
That
all
could
that. We'll
work.
talk about that more in future episodes. And I think that's just about it for me and Matthew.
Yeah. That's really it for the episode. Hope you guys enjoyed. It was a long episode. There was a lot to talk about today. Hope you guys enjoyed. We'll probably post something next week or like the week after. And yeah, like, comment, subscribe, share this video with a few friends. We are back in business. I know I said that last week, but it's good to be back. Unfortunately, the Giants suck. That's part of why we weren't filming. And yeah, we'll see you guys later. Let's go, Giants.